Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Speak Up Erika podcast. And in today's episode, my guest is Debbie. Hi, Debbie.
Hi, Erika.
Welcome back.
Thank you so much.
In our
Happy to be here.
Oh, thank you. In our last episode with Debbie was July last year, but we were able to talk about your book, Bare Feet. And then in today's episode, we're going to talk more about mental health therapy and abuse. But before we get into that, Debbie, do you want to just do a little introduction about yourself again?
Okay. Thank you. I'll be as brief as I can.
Yeah.
So my name is Debbie Ali, as you guys may or may not have remembered, but I am an author, counselor, coach, life coach. I do motivational speaking, and essentially my business, which it goes by the name 3GL Consulting, which is also the name of my website, 3glconsulting.com. Um, my focus is on creating safe spaces. And essentially, what I attempt to do is I counsel, coach, advise others in terms of whatever specific mental health issue they might be battling with. And my approach is might be a little bit different simply because of the life experiences I've had, which have been pretty bad. I've taken a very practical and a real life approach to this healing process. Um, Simply because I know, and when I say that I actually know, and that's a phrase that you're going to hear me say a lot. When I say I know, I actually know because I've lived it. And so I always integrate practical techniques that I've used that have helped me, and the most likely would help would be to those out there who do need the assistance.
Mm-hmm.
So as an author, yes, I've several books, but the one that's about to be uploaded on my website for sale very soon is called Bare Feet. Um, Hopefully by the end of February, it's going to be on my website.
Awesome.
Okay. Yep.
And Debbie, could you go into what does 3GL mean?
Well, 3GL is actually something very personal to me because it that came to me when I was very young. I think I may have been um, possibly my early 20s. It came to me in a dream. Essentially, what it meant for me was three representing the Holy Trinity, God the Father, God the Son, God the Holy Spirit, and GL being the abbreviated form of the word glory. So, in other words, glory to the Father, glory to the Son, glory to the Holy Spirit. And I would like to put it out there that that is my personal belief
Mm-hmm.
system. That's my personal source of strength. And that is not to say that my clients are Christian or need to be Christian.
Yeah.
From atheists go all the way back to you never know.
Mm-hmm.
But just my personal conviction, and that's where the name of the company stemmed from.
Oh,
The
awesome.
business and my work is meant to bring glory to God by helping people.
Yes. Yeah. I remember our first conversation together when I called you on the phone and I was saying, "Oh, thank you for wanting to do the podcast." And I think you said something like, "Well, it's God's plan for me and I'm supposed to share my story and stuff." And yeah.
Do. Yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you, Debbie. I guess we'll go into our topic for today, and we wanted to talk about mental health therapy issues and the stigmas behind it, and then also talking about abuse. Um, so I guess to start off, with COVID happening right now, do you notice an increase of people needing more help?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. There is, I mean, whether the approach for, actual counseling,
Mm-hmm.
actual sessions in counseling, or whether you're just, chatting with someone on the phone or, a friend or relative or whatever, uh, they, they, they speak very openly about the ways in which they're struggling with this. And even when we were not in such a tight lockdown, the their inability to feel safe in their own skin moving around because of the presence of this dangerous virus that's out there, right?
Mm-hmm.
That has affected people a great deal, their own sense of well-being, their sense of safety, their sense of um, well, and now in recent times, just like it was when COVID initially surfaced, the lack of freedom to interact,
Yeah, I
distract
know.
themselves with recreational activities and hanging with their friends and sports and you name it.
Mm-hmm.
And many people are struggling. Um, I have not, to be honest, I've been trying to gauge, okay, is it more of a struggle for men and women, or is it, I've been trying to gauge, but honestly, I feel that it's kind of 50-50
Oh, yeah.
in terms of men and women. And it's just that their struggles might be a little bit different,
Mm-hmm.
but in terms of quantity and numbers of individuals, I would say it's just about the same. They just struggle in different ways.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
What are the different ways that you've noticed that each gender has struggled differently?
Well, men, I
Yeah.
feel that men are struggling in terms as more so, and now this is I'm speaking in general terms. I have not done an actual survey, so this is not statistics, but from my observation and from speaking to individuals, men struggle, I think, with that inability, that lack of freedom to, jump in their vehicles and go have a beer with the guys, or
Mm,
oh, I'm unable to take my family out for a picnic, or of course, I mean, not in winter, but um, they're not able, they feel like they're lacking now,
yeah.
lacking in some sense their manhood, in that they can't fully entertain their kids, they can't take their wife out for for her birthday or for their anniversary, or simple things like that that we
Mm-hmm.
would not normally think of. It affects men in those ways.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other thing that is equally relevant, as equally relevant for men and women, is the loss of income.
Yes. Yeah.
That's a big thing.
Mm-hmm.
um Men are like, how can I continue to provide? What can I do? If I go out there, I'm risking my life and my family's lives.
Yeah.
But then if I don't, so it's like there's no winning. You're caught between a rock and a hard place, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then women feel the same sort of a similar sort of burden, because they're like, okay, because many women work, right? Most women work.
Yeah.
If I go out there, I'm putting myself, my kids at risk. Then, okay, so even if I go out there, what am I going to do in my absence? Are they going to actually study or not? And so there are all these dilemmas that were never there before, and all these difficult choices.
Mm-hmm.
And that has been a great stressor for both men and women.
Yeah, I agree. I think personally, also with you talking about men, I guess men losing their jobs and then they
Hmm.
feel emasculated that they're not able to
Related.
provide for their family.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
And
man.
then and then there's also a very prevalent issue that, for whatever reason, is being swept under the rug,
Mm-hmm.
by the powers that be. Especially during the tight lockdowns, women who are already in abusive situations, that
Mm,
abuse has just been, multiplying,
yeah.
multiplying tenfold, because they're now stuck in a home or a house with their abuser,
Mm-hmm.
and there's no escape to work. Okay, because I mean, let's be realistic. If you're on a bus, you're on a train, taxi, you're in car, there's some, I guarantee you, there are at least several other women on that, let's say a bus, who are suffering from, whether it's mental, physical, verbal, emotional abuse, and being able to escape from the home
Yeah.
to, now we may not think of it as an escape because you're going to work. However, to them it's an escape. You're escaping the hands of your abuser, and you're going out into the world, distracting yourself with other duties and other people and etc.
Mm-hmm.
Now trapped at home. You've got no choice but to deal with this individual. And again, different types of abuse. The abuse that women are forced to endure has indeed risen tremendously because of since COVID and because of the lockdowns.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
You say that that there's a lot of more abuse in older people as well, like the elderly too.
Like I said, I haven't done like an official survey, straight facts, but again, I don't think there's any division in terms of age.
Right.
It's more in terms of gender, whoever is being abused, even if it's a man, even
Yes.
if it's a man who's being verbally or emotionally abused at home, and let's say he's lost his job or his hours are reduced, whatever, he's now stuck in inside of these four walls with his abuser.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing with kids, same thing with children who are being abused. They can no longer escape to their schools.
Exactly.
They're stuck home with their abuser. And
Mm-hmm.
this is not being addressed. And I am very fearful, Erica, that, and I say this in inverted commas, when the whole COVID thing dies down and life supposedly goes back to some semblance of normalcy, I am almost afraid to see what would be the outcome of these individuals. I mean, where are they going to be at?
Yeah, I know. Uh,
Frightening.
Um, earlier, I found out about this service called the Women's Assaulted Helpline, and
Mhm.
they've been helping provide like a hotline for women and elderly folks to call because of just the heightened abuse of being at home and
Mhm.
COVID, right? Um, with people who are struggling with this right now, some advice on how to cope with it at the moment, I guess.
Well, I mean, there are lots of tips I can give you. Again, it would depend on mm, an individual's particular situation. If it's
Yeah.
physical abuse, it's something entirely different to someone who has gone into a state of depression because of the change in lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
Generally, and I'm saying this, I'm saying this now from my personal experience,
Mm-hmm.
having endured my own trauma those years ago. Uh, with the onset of anxiety attacks, um, terrible states of depression, um, the temptation to commit suicide, temptation to indulge in, excessive, well, substance abuse, basically,
Mm-hmm.
um, all of it. Uh, one and we don't really think about it as a solution, and it's not really a solution, it's a band-aid, but it's a coping mechanism, and it's something that I do from time to time when I am very down for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
I go back to something from my childhood. Now, for different
Mm.
people, it works differently. For you, it might be simply flipping through an album,
Mm.
back at pictures when you were young, when your kids were young, some, fun, silly pictures. For others, it might be looking at a favorite TV show from your childhood,
Mm-hmm.
but it's a cartoon and it sounds ridiculous, but you would not believe it brings your brain back to a place of when things were simple,
Yeah.
when things were peaceful. And my thing was this the Muppet Show.
Yes.
So I would, if I'm really low, I go back to like the Muppets or Super Grover from Sesame Street, and I look, and I just start flipping through some of the videos, and I laugh my head off. Yeah, I mean, it sounds ridiculous, but it puts me back to that time when I was me.
Yeah.
I was normal me. And what that does, laughter, people don't give laughter enough credit. When
Mm-hmm.
you laugh, you're releasing happy hormones, I call them, the serotonin, the dopamine, etc. You're literally releasing those happy hormones in your brain,
Mm-hmm.
and it lifts your spirits. So you're doing something that seems silly, but it's having a physical reaction,
Mm-hmm.
a chemical shift, if you want to say it, in your brain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
For other people, it's listening to their favorite music, maybe just banging it out really loudly or something, to vent rage or to vent frustration.
Yeah.
And it actually works.
Yeah.
Those are just some tips. Um, If someone is being sexually abused at home, I don't expect that any of those would help.
Mm-hmm.
You see, um, because you're dealing with severe, I mean, the ultimate violation.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're dealing with the ultimate violation, and so those individuals may call the helpline. I can't handle it anymore. I'm gonna slit my throat, or they want to commit suicide. They want to overdose on pills,
Mm-hmm.
and so with those individuals, what I tend to do is talk them down. I facilitate their ability to see what is good in their life. So, for example, and I'm just saying, okay, let's say you were to call me and say, like, Debbie, it's just horrible. He's done it again, and I can't deal with this anymore. And you're crying and you're hysterical.
Yeah.
First step, get you calm. Okay, we let you vent, because venting, people think that it's not okay to be angry and frustrated. It is.
Exactly.
That's a normal human emotion.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you want to scream in a pillow, scream your lungs out in a pillow until your vocal cords hurt.
Mm-hmm.
But you're venting emotion. And then you start talking. What happened? Like, exactly what happened. Oh, okay. When they're done telling you, then you start with, okay, well, what do you have a reason for living? Why do you want to kill yourself? So see that it's a different process depending on what issue. I've always found that it's a good practice to keep a literal, actual, physical note of your reasons for living. If
Yes.
your reasons for living is making money, okay, good, then that's number one. If your reason is your kids, then that's number one. Whatever it is, minimum three.
Mm-hmm.
And if everybody was to think about it seriously, there are so many things to be grateful for. We're
Yeah.
not focused on the positives. We're almost we're almost designed to focus on the negative. And when I
Mm-hmm.
say we're designed, not divinely designed, we were not divinely designed that way. That's from our social experiences and our upbringing. First thing we see is the negative, because it sticks out, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you were to really look, if you were to make a list, one column is good, the other column is bad. Just see if it balances. It will never balance. There'll always be more good.
Mm-hmm. I love how you brought that up because I think it was a couple of months ago I wrote on social media that I couldn't really find a reason to live. So I was asking people what their reason to live was. And
Mhm.
even if it's something simple as like Swiss chalet sauce or
That's
something,
right.
you're
Yeah.
right. Like I think people forget that the little things are
It's the
also, yeah, something to be grateful for, right?
You see, that's what's causing so many people to be overwhelmed by COVID
Mm-hmm.
and by the lockdown. Because for the first time, they can't run from their issues.
Yes.
There's no running from yourself. Nick, you can't run to work and distract yourself with exhaustion
Yes.
and whatnot. You're forced to look yourself in the mirror, and what they
Mm-hmm.
see they don't like. And
Mm-hmm.
having to confront them, they're at a loss. What do I do? I feel so bad. Why do I feel like I'm so terrible? Why do I feel like I'm so ugly? Why, why am I not good enough, etc.
Mm-hmm.
And this confrontation now, for the first time, is it's just blowing people out of the water. They don't know what to do.
Exactly.
Mhm.
They're out of their own regular routine. And I feel like they don't know what their new routine should be. So they're stuck just thinking about the constant negative thoughts.
That's right. And I
Yeah.
kind of learned that the hard way with my abduction, where I was held hostage for 2 weeks.
Right. Yes.
That was the first time I was literally actually alone.
Mm-hmm.
No contact with anyone from the outside world. I'm there, and all that I was stuck with were my own thoughts.
Yes.
And so I was forced to think, who am
Mm-hmm.
I? What is the point? Maybe I should just fight until they kill me.
Mm-hmm.
Or what? But then I started to realize, wait a minute. There's this, there's that, there's the other, there's the natural instinct to survive. And I was able to find reasons to live
Yes. Yeah.
despite what happened to me.
Mm-hmm.
And so that sense of isolation that people are struggling with, they're struggling with that isolation, especially the elderly people, from fear. Everything
Mm.
stems from fear. Am I going to die alone?
Yeah,
Is there going to be anyone to take care of me? Or what if I get COVID and I have to be isolated? Then what am I going to do?
exactly. Yeah.
Because they don't know what to do with themselves. You see? And so COVID has not really affected me in that way at all because I've been already forced to face myself.
Mm-hmm.
So I know through and through who I am.
Mm-hmm.
I know how to deal with me,
Exactly. Yeah.
see? Because I've done it before. But for someone who hasn't, that's a tricky one.
Yes, I know. Thank you so much, Debbie, for talking about that. I feel like right now I've kind of been experiencing that at my home. And I guess with yourself being a parent, how has your being a parent and having mental health, how has that been like, I guess? And in the sense of like me as a daughter, how can I help a parent that is going through that?
Oh, it's difficult. It's
Yeah.
difficult all the way around. It you see, as a parent, and this is why a lot of parents have been calling for schools to be reopened as well, because now they're forced to deal with exactly who their children are
Mm-hmm.
and the issues that each one faces. And okay, how do I help my kids? Oh my gosh, I don't know what to do. I've never dealt with this before. And then there's panic.
Yes.
Um, I Uh, my kids are grown, so
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to deal with the screaming and fighting and all of that. But there are times when my kids cross paths, and I say kids very loosely because, like I said, they're grown, but they cross paths, and there's some bickering, and one would stop speaking to the other, and and then the other would stop speaking with me
Mm-hmm.
for whatever reason, and you know what, try to take everything in stride because everybody is different. Each individual has different issues that they're dealing with.
Yes.
You might have one child who's dealing with isolation.
Mm-hmm.
You might have another child who's dealing with okay, I can't get a not even a part-time job out there to keep myself occupied, because young people and children, they need that activity, they need that stimulation. And so their frustration, who else are they supposed to vent that frustration on except their parents?
Mm-hmm.
Because there are no friends to vent on. Yes, I mean, they would be on social media, they would chat, they would talk. But it's not the same.
Yeah.
See, um, I have a son who is very, very athletic,
Mm-hmm.
always in the gym, always engaged in some sort of sporting activity, and that has frustrated him tremendously
Mm-hmm.
because that's his outlet. So when your outlet has been removed, who are you going to vent? Who are you supposed to vent on? It's going to be either yourself or your parents.
Mm-hmm.
And as a parent, we, unfortunately, but we need to own up to our responsibilities, which is we were given children uh, not for the sake of just having something cute and soft and snuggly to run around, right? We were given kids to train them to be adults.
Mm-hmm.
We're preparing them to be adults, and we need to own that responsibility and sacrifice what we need to for their betterment. And sometimes I've had to do that. Sometimes, and I'll be honest, my kids might be driving me crazy with their irritability and all of that. And I have to keep telling myself, okay, Debbie, they're trapped in a house for how
Yeah.
long? What are they going to be? Of course, obviously, they're going to be irritable. Okay, swallow it, turn the other cheek. You know what's happening. But then sometimes it does get to you as a parent as well. And you would find that sometimes the parent explodes, sometimes I explode. And I know that I'm wrong, but I always go back and apologize.
Mm-hmm.
Or they would come back and apologize. And that's the key, proper parenting. So it's not so much about how a child can help the parent, with mental issues. But if the child in the home is an older child,
Mm-hmm.
when I say, not a little youngster, an older child or a young adult, and the parent is the one who's suffering from um, psychological mental issues due to this whole situation,
Mm-hmm.
then something very similar is required. Patience, a lot of patience, because remember, your parent is older.
Mm-hmm.
They were grown, they were raised with different values in a different generation, in a different time,
Mm-hmm.
and therefore we must always keep at the front of our minds. um, they may be very irritable, they may get to the point where they're bugging you all the time, and you know even forget that 10 minutes ago they told you this, and they come back 15 minutes later and they complain about the same thing, and you're like, but you just said that.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, so your patience is running low, and they're irritated with themselves and their inability to be independent,
Mm-hmm.
because that's a big thing for older folks. They like to feel strong and independent.
Yep.
And so, again, patience is required, and understanding that, okay, this is my mom or this is my dad. They're suffering, they're lonely, they can't see their grandkids because of COVID, they can't uh, walk down the street just to pick up some fruit or newspaper or something it's simple to you, but it's a big deal for them.
Mm-hmm.
And when that is taken from them, the frustration hits,
Yeah.
and anxiety hits as well. Oh my gosh, if I go down the street, if I take a walk around the block, what if somebody with COVID bumps into me by mistake? Okay, what if I contract this and I die? I'm gonna have to die alone because they're gonna isolate me. I don't want to die
Mm-hmm.
alone. These are thoughts that go through their minds, right? And what if I take it back home and my grandkids get it, or my children get it, or my wife or my husband? Then what? I'm gonna be the one responsible.
Yeah.
So there's so many angles you can look at this from,
I know. Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
both as a parent and as a child, and even as a sibling, patience and understanding
Mm-hmm.
is required.
Awesome. Thank you, Debbie. Yeah, I think even because so my grandparents had to get tested, and my grandma, she is 92 years old,
Oh,
but
wow.
so this was going to be her second time to test, and she was arguing with my aunt at the time, and
No.
she was saying, well, I don't want to test, last time it hurt and
Mm.
I'm going to die anyways. And that was kind of like her being stubborn about it, even though she has to get tested, because if she has it, then she'll infect my grandpa or my aunt and stuff like that. But
Yes,
it's really interesting, because I feel like now people see their family in such a different light, because we can see everyone struggling.
that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And that in itself is a struggle when you realize that, wait a minute, I did not know my children were struggling in this way. I did not know my husband was struggling with this issue or whatever.
Yeah.
Even my mom, she calls every day, sometimes 5 times a day. And I'm like, you know what? Okay, Debbie, you're in the middle of this. Still answer. That's your mom.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say the same thing she said like a couple hours ago, but I answer anyway because I know she just needs to feel that connection.
Mm-hmm.
Then there are times too, and I will be honest, there are times I'm just like, okay, I really can't deal with this right now. And I just, I don't answer, but I call her back at a later time. So, I mean, it goes every which way.
I know.
It's tough.
Yeah. I guess since that we're talking about the topic of parents and I guess people that are older than us, thinking about the stigma that, oh, I can't have a mental illness, I'm too old to be dealing with this, or now that therapy has transitioned online, they feel that they're too old to be using a computer or stupid to use that. Could you kind of touch upon that stigma of like older people and mental illness?
Well, well, first of all, let me say that stigma applies to everyone because
Mhm. Yeah.
I had to deal with teenagers who
Mhm.
who've they needed therapy and counseling, etc.,
Yes.
and they absolutely kept that under wraps. No one must ever know,
Yes.
because even and you would not think that of a younger generation, today's generation. However, because they've seen their parents and their grandparents from older generations attach a stigma to it,
Yeah.
they kind of subconsciously feel, okay, no, maybe I'm not crazy, but it means that something's really wrong with me and I don't like it. And people are going to laugh at me if they, oh, she's going to therapy or he's going to therapy. What's her problem?
Mhm.
And then you have like, let's say your generation, who you're aware that there is a stigma and that it should not be there. You're very conscious of that.
Mhm.
And there are those who will say, I need help. Just like I would need assistance if, let's say, I broke an arm or a leg, I need to go get it fixed. Um, Something is wrong with my thinking or my pattern of thinking, and I need to get some advice as to how to change it.
Mhm.
Okay, now that's the logical side of it. Now, the older generations, remember, they were raised in a different day and time when
Yep.
psychiatry was not even really considered a science. It was more like pseudoscience. You know, in fact, I have a friend who, at the time that he was pursuing his degree in psychiatry, and he was done. He was of course referred to as a doctor,
Mhm.
and literally other medical professionals. I'm talking about not uneducated people. Other medical professionals would tell him to his face, "You are not a doctor.
Oh wow.
Psychiatry is not medicine."
Wow.
Mhm. And he had to deal. He poor guy. He had to deal with that for many years until eventually the stigma started to, lighten a
Break.
little bit.
Yeah.
So these older folks, like grandparents and so on, they are from that generation where there's a stigma.
Mhm.
Whereas you go to a psychiatrist, you go to the doctor, it's fine. You can go to the doctor every day of the week. That's okay. But if you go to a psychiatrist, then you're crazy.
Mhm.
Then you need to be locked up and
Mhm.
padded walls and put in a straight jacket, and that's what's associated with having mental issues. Mental issues does not mean that you're crazy.
Mhm.
There are in fact, it is my personal belief. Again, this is my personal belief. Most people walk around with mental issues and they are not aware of it.
Yes. Yeah.
Whether it's depression, and when I say depression, it can be chronic depression or it can be mild.
Mhm.
Whether it be anxiety, whether it be suicidal thoughts, whether it be cutting themselves, whether it be some sort of substance abuse, whether it be dysfunctional relationships, these are all categorized as having um, not so much mental issues, but emotional issues as well. People think mental issues means you're crazy. No, it's a very broad term that includes emotions. You can
Mhm.
be verbally abused at home and come out, leave your home smiling like everything's just perfectly fine, but inside you're dying because you've been verbally put down. That's
Mhm.
abuse. And if you think about it, most people at some point in their lives have either been mentally, verbally, physically, emotionally, or financially abused. And
Mhm.
people do not even think about financial abuse as abuse, but it is.
I've
It
never thought
is.
about that one.
It is. It is a form of abuse when an individual, man or woman, is
Mhm.
basically holding money over your head. You can't leave me because I pay the bills.
Ah, yeah.
I'm not giving you the freedom to go out there and work and become self-sufficient because
Mhm.
I want to maintain control over you.
Wow.
See, all of this is abuse.
Yeah.
And I believe that we walk amongst mentally ill people every single day.
Yep.
We just
Agreed.
don't know it.
Mm-hmm.
And so that stigma has to die. The only way for it to die, I think one of the main reasons that it's even alive, it's from television.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Social media and television. You see the movies, somebody's mentally ill, oh, they're locked up in a cell somewhere and they're being injected with medication and they're walking around like zombies. And come on, the film industry, they need to take some responsibility for that.
Yeah.
Stop
Yeah. That's so
presenting it
true.
in a different light.
Mm-hmm.
Um, the only thing that is really, I think, at the front of my head right now, it would be abuse. There's so much abuse happening inside of these closed doors that, especially because of COVID and the lockdowns, women are not, and when I say women, I also include men, but mostly women. Let's be frank, okay? The,
Mm-hmm.
the percentages are way higher for women and young girls from as young as 16 years old.
Mm-hmm.
What I mean, how are they supposed to process what's happening to them right now? They can't run, they can't hide, they're trapped in there.
I know.
I feel for them.
Mm-hmm.
I feel for these women who are being put on the streets to beg, beg for money or food or whatever, to go back home to present to their spouses and their families, and they're left to starve.
Yeah.
Abuse is a big thing, and I would really like to encourage women especially out there, children, reach out for help.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes that help, unfortunately, at times that help cannot always be found um in the mainstream psychiatric field or psychology field, and you're going to a therapist who is registered in 10 different organizations, and they have a PhD and they have a master's, and I'm not cutting them down because believe me, they have a lot to offer.
Mm-hmm.
But someone like myself, I have been a source of refuge for many people because I actually know, and this is why so many professionals were unable to assist me, because they could not look me in the eyes and said, hey, I understand, I feel your pain.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to tell those who are being abused out there is hope.
Mm-hmm.
There really, really is. Even though and believe me, I've been there, done that. All you see is darkness. Don't even talk to me about seeing, oh, there's light at the end of the tunnel and all of that, because that just irritates you more. But I'm telling you, I've been in the depth of that darkness, and I'm telling you, you trudge along one foot in front of the other,
Mm-hmm.
one in front of the other, and you get to the end. And I'm putting myself out there. Some might take this the wrong ways, but it really doesn't matter to me because I know what my purpose is.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're trudging through that darkness and you put one foot in front of the other, if you can find my hand, take it.
Mm-hmm.
Take it, because I'll help you.
Mm-hmm. I, I I think that Debbie, would you say that, I mean, we can be given all these resources and all these tools, but at the end of the day, it's up to I guess, the person to get them out of their own struggles, because I can't think for you and I can't I mean, I could brush your teeth for you, but, but yeah, at the end of the day, they have to want to actually
They've
help
got to
themselves
want.
to
That's
get out of
correct.
it. Yeah.
I've had to drop clients because of that, because they kept going in a cycle
Yeah.
and they were not taking the hints about trying different techniques and tips.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized that they were in that they were comfortable in
Yeah.
that despondent cycle.
Yeah.
And there are those you just can't help.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I just have to let go, because I realize I can't help someone who doesn't truly need it or doesn't truly want it.
Mm-hmm. with your current business, and I'm sure that you've come along with so many, like trying to you've come along with helping so many people. How do you protect your own mental health and your energy when you help others?
Wow, thank God for the Muppets. I
Thank God.
I thank God for the Muppets and Super Grover and Grover the waiter.
Yeah.
And I mean, I literally crack myself up with these things, and it works. And I mean, I'm saying that in all seriousness, but I also do a lot of meditation.
Mm-hmm.
It really does. It the really good meditational pieces mimic your brain waves when you're in different states of sleep or calm, deep breathing, all of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very unique combination, but it works.
Mm-hmm.
Please don't mistake me. I'm not superhuman.
Yeah.
I do get down in the dumps about some things, and then sometimes I just explode and I'm like all over the place, and then I have to ground myself. I
Yeah.
am a human being, right? So
Exactly.
there's no like, magic formula. But
Mm-hmm.
those are just some of the things that I do to keep myself uh sane.
Yes.
I have
Yes.
to say that, sane.
Thank you, Debbie. I remembered my thought from earlier, and that was when you were talking about people seeking help and they don't want to because of the stigmas behind it.
Mhm.
That I think they also don't want to accept that they need the help, or that not that anything's wrong with them, but they just that they think that if they go out and seek help that they're crazy and that they don't need it because nothing's wrong with me, when they have to
That's
find that
right.
acceptance.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
They do have to. That is the first step. Even if you're a minor and your parents forced, I'm just saying, your parents force you to go to therapy for whatever they perceive to be an issue.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to do you very much good if you don't believe you have an issue.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and that's why I one of my main goals right now is to put myself out there, because most people look at me as, oh, she's normal, she's great. How come she's always, she's so normal after what happened to her? And I'm like, yeah, I'm normal. It doesn't mean that I don't have bad days. I have really bad days.
Mm-hmm.
I have more good days than bad days. And I try to, that's why I put myself out there so that I can show people I'm not a loony bin walking around bumping into poles and speaking to myself and uh, attacking other people because I'm crazy and I have a mental issue.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a regular person. There are
Exactly.
just some issues I've had to deal with, and I've dealt with them. And there's so many people that might be a very best friend, who's cutting herself. She has issues she needs to deal with. Does that
Mm-hmm.
make her crazy or weird? No. You
No.
love your best.
Exactly.
But that's why I try to put myself out there so people realize, hey, she's like normal.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not too afraid anymore to come forward and say, hey, do you think maybe we can talk about XYZ? And that's what we do. We talk, and I keep things light. I'm not like sitting there with my glasses up my nose and a notepad and a pencil, and I'm not like I don't deal like that.
Yeah.
I'm just me.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I think that with you being transparent about what you've been through also helps people acknowledge that they're not alone and
They're
that they're comfortable to talk about it, about
That's
what
right.
they're going through as well, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's been the main attraction of the people are drawn to me because I'm not shy about what I say, what was done to me, what wasn't done to me, how
Mm-hmm.
I coped. They see me cry, they see me as a normal human being, and I'm approachable. I'm not gonna
Yes.
judge you. Who am I
Yeah,
to judge you?
exactly.
You know?
Yeah. Thank you so much, Debbie, for being a guest again and coming back. If anyone missed out on our last episode together, Debbie did talk about her abduction story, which she brought up in this episode as well. So if you wanted to listen to her story, feel free to listen to that episode, and as well as her book is also based on her story. Debbie, if you wanted to share more about how people can connect with you with your business and buying your book and all of that, may you share that?
Yeah, sure. The easiest way to get in touch with me would be through my website.
Mm-hmm.
That's three as in the digit three, glconsulting.com. And there's all my contact information on my website. I will be starting my blog next week. Upfront taboo subjects that people run from, but I'm not afraid to.
Yes.
Eventually, a podcast.
Woo, so exciting.
Yes. So, and then you will also be able to see on my site who I am, where I come from, what I've been through, as well as the different packages I offer in terms of counseling, coaching, that sort of thing, my qualifications, and so on. My book, Bare Feet, though, will be uploaded on my site by the end of February. So if you would like to register for an autographed copy, you can just, send me an email. So I'll keep a note of your email and so on. So that when they're hot off the press, you get an autographed copy with your purchase. So let me know.
That one is a physical copy, Debbie?
That one, yeah. If you would like a physical copy autographed, I will facilitate that for the first, let's say, for the first 50 orders.
Okay, awesome.
That's for the hard copy. And of course, there will be the ebook version that you would be able to purchase and download from my website.
Yes, I have the ebook copy, but I'm gonna email you for a physical one. I would like
Yeah,
a
don't
signed
worry.
autograph.
No worries.
Awesome.
I would like to mention, though, there is a very special package that I have available for students. When I say students, I mean anyone who's at school, whether you're an adult or a child.
Mm-hmm.
That's been stressing a lot of students out. Having been a teacher for many years, I've been in touch with uh, my associates and other students in the system,
Mm-hmm.
and it's been causing a lot of anxiety and stress.
Yeah.
So for students who believe you need to talk to someone, I'm not saying you have a mental health issue. If you just need to chat, deal with some things that are happening with you,
Mm-hmm.
I have a very special package out for students. So parents can feel free to take a look at that.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Debbie. Yes, I'm a student right now, actually, so I'm definitely going to message you after this episode. But yes,
Yeah.
thank you so much, Debbie. And thank you for everyone who's been listening. I'm going to also put Debbie's information in the podcast notes so you can definitely look into her services and her book and all of the upcoming stuff that she has. And yeah, thank you, Debbie.
Okay, Erika, no problem. I love being here with you.
Yeah, thank you. Awesome. Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Bye bye.